So while these aren't heavy, robust systems, occasionally we run into issues with damage and some components may have to get swapped out. You might have a new frame being shipped to you and you're wondering, how am I going to get all this onto the new frame? I'm going to show you the easiest ways to move components off of your frame without taking too much apart. You almost want to think of it like a car. If you don't have to mess with it, if you don't have to remove it, why bother? Don't touch it. You don't want to damage it. So, first and foremost, I'm going to show you the easiest components that are taken off, starting with the RO housings. Now, you'll notice we've removed our filters from the system. Just makes it a lot easier to work around. So first and foremost, you want to disconnect any hoses. Simply push on the blue end of the push fit, and simultaneously, I like to give a little twist to the hose as I'm pulling out. And there we have it. So we have our hoses disconnected. So now, the RO housings are held onto the frame via this bracket here. And you'll notice there are 2 bolts in the center of each bracket. These are size 11 millimeter. I recommend having a drill present in combination with an 11 millimeter wrench. An adjustable will work too. So we're going to go ahead and simply loosen these bolts. Make sure you keep track of your hardware. Whoops. This is horrible. Okay. So with those 4 bolts removed, and the hose is disconnected, you will actually now be able to remove the RO housing assembly from your frame. We'll set that to the side. And now, all that's left is your DI pre-filter assembly. Now, most importantly, I should note, if you have to swap out one of these assemblies, you will want to start with the bottom bolt. Now the bottom bolt has a little bit of clearance between the cap and the bracket, but you'll see I'm able to secure the wrench onto the head of the bolt. Whoops. And we will loosen the bottom. Why? Because the bottom bolt is automatically secured by the cap of the DI housing. So when I let go, this bolt can't go anywhere. However, this bolt is not held by any, or this bolt can free fall into this bracket. So what I recommend personally is start with your wrench. I usually go opposite. Find the head of the bolt and begin loosening. Obviously, you might take a little finagling to get in there. There you go. There you go. So if your bolt falls inside, like it just did now, don't fret. Simply take your housing, shake it around. Oh, it already fell out. So now, more than likely we've sent you a blank frame. If there are no wheels and you wish to swap over your wheels, simply use an 8mm Allen key. Goes right onto the center of the bolt. and simply loosen. On older models of Plus systems, you may find you have a set of blue wheels that are slightly different. On the newer models, they have black wheels that feature 2 rubber spacers and a slightly longer bolt to compensate for the wheel. While they are slightly different in appearance, the only difference is that hardware. You will still be able to use an 8mm Allen key to remove either type of bolt. I should also mention that modern Max Pluses are made with a solid green frame, although some of your older models may have the old traditional green to blue frame. If we do send a replacement frame, you will receive a green frame as such. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put everything back onto the system. So we had our bolt fall out of our DI pre-filter assembly. We're going to simply slide a washer in there, and you're going to go ahead and use both hands to guide this bolt in to the hole. So, as such, it can be a little tricky. Just have patience. Working slowly, you will run into less problems. So I'm going to start by securing in the top bolt. And once the nut is on there, you can let go. It's not going anywhere, and the bottom bolt won't either. Go ahead, make sure you put a washer on both ends. And then simply go ahead and tighten. I start from the bottom, as you have more clearance to work with. And then simply, we'll grab the top. Get nice and secure in there. Okay, and then all that's left are the RO housings. Simply align the brackets with the holes on the frame. Then we're going to grab those 4 bolts that we took out and simply replace. Remember, you're using a size 11mm wrench and socket for this. Okay. After everything's hand tight, we're just going to go ahead and snug it in with the drill. Okay. Don't forget to reconnect your hoses. Remember, you have a single green hose. I shouldn't say green. You'll have a single hose coming up to your bypass if one is present. On older models, you might have a standard inlet. Either way, you'll have one hose running up to your resin, and then reconnect your pre-filter hoses to the banjo. And just like that, you're able to take apart your Max Plus in really 2 main components. Now I should note, if we have sent replacement RO housings or stainless steel housings and you need to remove them, simply loosen the straps on either side. A size 13mm or 1/2 inch will do the trick. Now, I'm just going to talk about some of these fittings here that may or may not need replacement. Starting with the pressure gauge. Every so often, we get a case where you need to change out your pressure gauge for whatever reason. You can simply do so by using a 14mm wrench on the gauge itself. If this fitting moves as well, you can either use an adjustable or a 21mm to be able to loosen. Now there are occasions where we'll send an entire assembly, whether it's the pressure gauge assembly or the bypass assembly. I'm going to show you some easy ways to install without having to take the whole thing apart. So first and foremost, firstly, remove your hoses. Now, let me show you. You should be able to loosen by hand. And eventually you're going to hit that fitting down there. So what's the best way to get around this fitting? We found you can loosen this housing with the bolts here, size 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch. It's actually the same hardware that keeps the stainless steel housings on the frame. Simply loosen. And when you've loosened enough, you'll find that this housing will become more free to scooch over, and you'll be able to finish removing this assembly. Now, the same thing could be said for this assembly. You will have to remove this cap from the bracket itself to be able to fully remove this assembly. I recommend when removing this fitting, either use an adjustable wrench on this hexagonal part of the elbow, or you can use a 1 1/16 on the physical bushing that leads to the cap. Either way, remove the cap from your bracket, install your fitting, and reattach to your bracket. The DI cap has more freedom to move, while the pre-filter housings are kind of set in stone. So bear that in mind when replacing fittings. On other occasions, we may replace a banjo fitting due to issues with a seal. However, I should note that the metal banjo can be adjusted. So before assuming that the fitting is damaged, this outer hex allows you to move the banjo fitting around to your specification. And these plastic rings create a seal between these two fittings. So bear that in mind if you have a leak anywhere present from these rings. It may require just a slight snug. And if not, if we send a replacement, simply use the 24 millimeter on this hexagonal end. And this banjo would be compatible with a replacement end. As such. So we're going to simply snug it up for that seal. And you don't want to over tighten to warp any of the plastic. Just get it nice and snug, run water, and verify that you've snugged it enough to create a seal. I should also mention you have your flow restrictors at the bottom of your system here. Now, if we've sent a replacement fitting due to a failed restrictor, simply use a 28 millimeter wrench to just simply remove from the plastic, and then you'll replace your new fitting into that hole. Pretty straightforward.